What's up, everybody?
Yo,
All right, we're on a different camera. Can you guys tell us if you can hear us or not? People that are there right now. All right. Well, that's okay. It looks like it is working. Perfect. All right. So we're going to start with questions that we have from Skool, and then we're going to go right to the YouTube chat. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and just throw it in the chat, and we will get to them in order. And we will do our best to answer every single question. We went about 2 hours last time, so if we need to go that long or a little longer this time, we can do that as well. Perfect. So let's just get right into it. All right, first question. If you had to start a new poop scooper company and launch it in 2025, what are the 5 things you would prioritize and how would you scale it to 750 clients in 1 year? What do you think, Levi? What are you doing?
well, at $100 a piece, that's what is that, 75 grand a month recurring at the end of the year. It's a pretty sweet goal to have. I think I would definitely make sure that I have a CRM in place. Like you want to make sure your routing and your payment stuff is set up right away. Understanding what your very firm policies are, so no time frames for customers. If you're showing up to their house, we just give them the 60-minute heads up text. Pre-billing customers on the first of each month instead of doing like a month's worth of work. So kind of having the CRM with a bunch of solid policies in place, I would start hitting the ground running and figure out how much you're going to be spending on ads, Google, Facebook, and kind of budget that out. 750 clients, about one person can do anywhere from, depending on your service area, 100 to 150 yards, like clients. So it looks like something like probably 5 or 6 people you'll have with a manager is kind of what that looks like as well. Anything you want to add to that way?
Yeah, well, we are kind of starting a new pooper scooper company in 2025. We're opening up a new location at the beginning of the year, so we will be documenting kind of what we're doing. How I would go about this would depend on how much money you have also. So if you have money, it's going to make things a lot easier. If you don't have money, you're probably not going to get the 750 clients in your first year. Maybe get to 100, 150, 200 if you're really crushing it. But for 750, I'd say having a good marketing strategy. The first thing I like to do is dominate Google, because if you're running social media ads or other things like that, and you don't dominate Google, a lot of people will see those ads. It'll raise industry awareness and they will search for the service. And if you're not showing up, you're going to kind of miss out. I kind of like to compare it to like air superiority in the military. Like you want to have it. Next thing, definitely have a CRM. And then you're also going to need to build a team if you're going to be getting into that 750 client mark. So you want to have some good processes in place, at least some basic hiring procedures. So we do have a lot of stuff in the Poop Scoop Millionaire that can help with that. Hiring, having good systems, have enough budget to actually get there, and having kind of realistic expectations as well. Like if you wanted to just like bum rush to 750 clients, you're gonna have to buy cars and marketing. I'd probably say you need to have around $200,000 to invest into the business to have a decent chance of hitting that.
Yeah, even if you break it down to like cost per acquisition, which you'll get some if you have wrap trucks and stuff that are technically like free, right, for the wrap or whatever. But even if you did $200 per client, if it cost you $200 to get a client and you had 750, that's still like $150,000 in marketing straight up that you have to get those clients.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, definitely. But like I said, we are opening a new location in January, so we will share what we did. Our goal is to get to 100 clients in the first 30 days. So we'll see if we can do that or not. All right. What are you and Levi hoping for from Santa Claus? Top comment on that was a $25 cost per acquisition. That is actually what I want from Santa Claus. What do you want for Christmas, Levi?
Oh man, same. I'm pretty vanilla. I'd love that too.
For real Christmas, yeah, I'm going to Disneyland for Christmas, so that should be fun. But other than that, it's back to business. So
my nephews are 3 and 5, and they're obsessed with Tesla right now. So for Christmas, those little electric cars, like the Barbie cars or whatever. I got them 2 little electric Teslas, like 1-seaters. It's pretty cool. So I think they're gonna like those.
Nice. All right, what do we got here? This is awesome. Catch replay. My number one question: how do I overhire and prepare for spring rush when I'm still building the routes? I'll give that one to you, Levi, because you handle that part of the business.
Can I read that again? How do you?
How do I overhire and prepare for spring rush when I'm still building the routes? Maybe explain what spring rush is for folks.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, the notoriously, doesn't matter where you live, the busiest season for the pooper scooper business is Q1, quarter one, January through April-ish. And so like for us, we'll get like 3/4 of all of our clients in the first 4 months of the year, right? Even if you live in New Mexico or Arizona or Texas or somewhere, Florida, where it doesn't actually snow, you're still probably going to get at least 50% of your customers in 4 months. So obviously it's a very important season for you to fulfill the service and make sure you get it right. Otherwise you have to basically wait a whole nother year, right? So what I like to do is I like to get ahead of the curve, as Kathy just mentioned. Being overstaffed, I always like to be overstaffed at least one person, because from what I've found, like, I've never had one single person complain about not getting their 40 hours. Like, people in general with this job are pretty flexible. They don't care if they really per se get 35 or 37 hours one week. So even if you're staffed an extra person, everybody, the whole team's going to get, maybe 35 one week, and then you're just going to keep getting busier and busier. So one other thing I like to do too, I just like to stay overstaffed. But the way I do that is we like to build weekend teams for the busy season. So you don't have to have a ton of cars, right? Let's say you have 2 cars and you're like, oh gosh, I technically need 4 people because of all these initial cleanups. They take 2 hours each. Well, just put them on Saturday and Sundays, and then you can use that same vehicle to fulfill like 10. Each person can do about 10 initial cleanups or one-time cleanups on the weekend. So we'll run anywhere from like 10 to 15 people. How I do it, in short, is even right now I'm staffing for weekend people. I'm having conversations. I put the job ad out. I'm like, hey, this is what's happening. For us, it gets busy from here to here, January to April. This is like a temporary position. The snow may fall down and there might not be work that weekend, but we're just kind of looking for somebody who has a flexible schedule, and so they can knock out 10 initial or one-time cleanups on the weekend. We'll run like anywhere from 7 to 15 people, depending on how busy we are. And then that doesn't mess with like your Monday through Friday routes. Also, you're not paying them until you need them, right? So it's kind of like the cleanest way we've found of staffing that. Anything you want to add, Will?
No, I think that pretty much covers it for the most part. But yeah, it is definitely a challenge. You're gonna have to eat a little extra expenses as you're working towards the spring rush, just to make sure everybody's trained up. There aren't any issues or anything like that.
Yeah, because if you eat the cost, like William said, but if you're not providing a good service, if you don't have enough people, if you're not overstaffed, like you're like, oh, I'm paying extra for my labor. Well, if you're not doing a great job or servicing the new customers, they'll just leave and go somewhere else, right? So the opportunity costs, right? You're gonna miss out on that if you're not providing an excellent service. So being overstaffed is a great thing to do. I'm a huge believer in that. But the weekend team's probably the cleanest way to do it. You leverage the amount of trucks you have. You don't have to buy more. Right. And then also just you don't pay them until they work on the weekends. So it's a good way to finesse it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. To keep things simple, would you lose too much if you price the same for up to 4 dogs and an average size yard rather than having a slider for number of dogs and yard size? So yeah, basically what you're asking is, do we just charge like $100 no matter how many dogs you have, one through 4, or do we adjust the price depending on the number of dogs? I actually asked Alex Hormozy's team when I went down to meet with them in Vegas. Really, the only way to know for sure is to actually go and test it out. You want to make sure you're tracking your conversion rates, your churn rates, lifetime value, seeing how that impacts that. Their gut feeling was that it would be better to continue pricing per dog, just so that you have customers, like if they only have 1 dog, they don't feel like they're being overcharged compared to other people. And for us, most of our clients have 1 or 2 dogs. So 2 dogs is kind of our average. So
Yeah, and our average customer wants once a week cleanups. But I think when you start getting into more of these dogs, I like the way that we at least charge right now for per dog, because some of those cleanups take significantly longer. Imagine 4 big dogs. I mean, it's going to probably take twice as long. So having that structured that way is the best way to go, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, Chris, last Q&A was great. Can't wait. Thank you, Chris. What do we got here? I have 2 domains, Yardkeeper and We Scoop Pet Poop. Yardkeeper is my business name. To be and other is what we do. I was thinking about having We Scoop the Poop as my website, but have the website branded as Yard Keeper. That way I can have We Scoop the Poop as the call out on vans and the website name. Not sure. That's a bit jumbled. I love the We Scoop the Poop website name, but Yard Keeper as the brand name. Not sure what to do. Your thoughts? My opinion is that your brand is going to be more important long term than having those kind of like exact match domain searches. And when I'm looking at this, Yard Keeper versus We Scoop the Poop is much more memorable, and it's shorter, and it's 2 words versus 1, 2, 3, 4 words. So I would probably go all in on Yard Keeper and then just try to optimize for those keywords like We Scoop pet poop, dog poop pickup, pooper scooper service, pet waste removal, dog waste removal. Make sure you have those keywords on your website. But by far, your brand, especially as the industry develops, is going to be your biggest asset, because even if you run ads like way more efficiently than everybody else, it's not going to be like a super big difference, but your brand will lower your advertising costs. It'll increase your lifetime value. It'll make it easier to hire employees. That's what we've found anyways over in our market. Like, we have a way easier time with all those things in our main market where we built a bigger brand than some of the newer markets that we're going into and haven't had that much exposure yet.
Especially with the branding for hiring too, like it's with like our huge brand presence in our main town, we just get some excellent resumes coming through. And I've noticed from other spots where we're maybe newer and we even pay more over there, right? Like in Seattle, it's just a huge animal over there, right? A lot of people live there, but it's just a whole different kind of thing. So having a great brand in place really will just save you costs across the board.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Okay, let's see. Should be good. What's the best way to open a second location without being there to run it? I'm glad you asked, because that's what we have done. So our Seattle location, I think we only went there like twice,
Yeah.
like ever. And I think the real key to that is just having somebody that you can count on to run and manage that location. Which even us, we've made mistakes. We actually had to let go of the manager over there and rehire somebody. So that was one of the few times that we actually had to go over and visit. But having somebody that you can actually count on, somebody that's going to show up, and then somebody that also has their incentives aligned with yours. So like, we like to incentivize our managers at a new location, especially if you're not going to be there. The bigger that location gets, the more money they make. The more efficient that location is, the more money they make. So we have different bonus structures and like a pay raise structure to just make sure we are aligned there, because nothing will kill your business more than your employees having misaligned incentives from what the business actually wants.
Yeah, and like for us, we have a corporate call center, right? So we take all the calls no matter what location is right here in Spokane.
Mhm.
It's our central kind of hub. So not having to worry about having an office. Oh my gosh, how am I going to take these calls over in Seattle? We need to get an office, this, and that. Just having one place for that also makes the operations simpler as well. And then
Mhm.
we can also do all the hiring over here. And then the manager ultimately kind of picks who they want to go with. But having everything kind of consolidated here in Spokane really helps. And
Mhm.
also, I think if you're looking to do a second location, it's always best if you have a feasible candidate that works for you now to run the opportunity by them and maybe extend the offer to them. And because you never know who might on your team, and whether there's 4 or 5 or 12 people on your team, you never know who might actually be in a situation where they want that kind of opportunity to make more
Mhm.
money, to maybe change their life and go over somewhere else. So
Mhm.
that's at least what happened for us. Worked out for for a year or so. It
Mhm.
helps us get growing and get some boots on the ground.
Yeah, I got the other side of that too. Is kind of as Levi said, we want to keep it simple. So literally, the only job of our manager is to hire, train, and fire people in that location. Like, we literally run everything else out of our HQ, from routing, billing, like pretty much anything else that the business needs to run, marketing, all those things get run out of our central HQ.
Ideally, if you're going to do another location also, like try to have it at least somewhat reasonably close to you if something went wrong, right? Like I've only had to go over there 2, 3 times, like William said. And the first time was just when we launched, I put up yard signs. But if you can fly an hour or 2 hours and get over there, it's not that huge of a deal technically if you're in an emergency situation, right?
Mhm.
So if you're 7 hour plane flight, that might be a little bit more difficult.
Mhm. All right. Let's see here. What's the best way to handle this? I'm charging on the first of the month. I can only clean up on Fridays. I would like to clean up as close to payment time for customer experience, first Friday of the month. If a client signs up for once a month service in the middle or near the end of the month, should I charge them full month service the first time, only to charge them again and clean up a few weeks or less? I wouldn't want to charge them for the first of the month and clean up on the 25th of the month, for example. What's the best solution? So he wants to bill everybody on the first Friday of every single month.
Uh-huh.
But if somebody signs up midway through the month, he wants to know if you bill them right now or if you bill them later.
Yeah, so let's just say somebody signs up today, right? And the initial, let's just say next month, for example. So January 5th, let's just pretend like that's a Friday. So we're going to do the first cleanup on Friday, and then they're going to get billed, it's prorated for the whole month at the same time on the first cleanup. There's like 4 or 5 cleanups to do in January, right? But they're going to pay all of it on the first visit. And then they're good until the first of the next month, February 1st, March 1st, April 1st. So it's prepaid, right? As you mentioned. And then is there another part to that?
Yeah, you're also talking about wanting to clean up the closest to their first appointment, wanting to bill around the same time, which we don't necessarily do that here either. Like we'll bill people, like Levi said, prorated the rest of the month, and then everybody gets billed on the first. Doesn't matter when their start date is, even if it's like the third week of the month.
Yeah, even if somebody's, because nobody's ever going to start on the first of the month, right? Except for anybody that calls and signs in on the first. So like pretty much, let's say we have 2,000 clients that we service, the 2,000 get billed on the first of each month regularly. But the new clients that come on, like you said, it could be the 5th of the month, it could be the 7th. We have to bill them. We come out for the first time, and then they owe us for all December. So at any given time, at any given day, you're getting people onto the next first of the month billing cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So like, in a day, we'll maybe bill like 7 new customers every day, and then they're good until the first. But it's it just keeps going like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. What's your experience of demographics, et cetera, for your clients? All right. So question 1 of a multi-series question. What is the most common age and sex? So most common for us is going to be females, like 30 to 50, kind of in there is kind of the standout. With that being said, we do have clients in pretty much every age and gender range, but it definitely leans that way. Our client's rich, busy, disabled, blind, busy mom. I think it's pretty much a mix of almost everybody.
Yeah, you'll notice that you'll run into, it is really everybody, but you'll find elderly, seniors, right? It's almost impossible, if not impossible, for them to get out there, right? Maybe their neighbors don't do it often enough, but they pitch in twice a year. Maybe they don't have any family in town. We've even had like seniors call in and they'd heard about our service and then they went and bought a service animal. Really cool to think about. But if you also think about it, you want to feel like you can take care of your pets, and picking up after them is something. But if you don't have something in place to do that, then that perfect example, what I just gave you, she might not have a service dog. So that's really cool, I think. People that had a pregnancy or have a pregnancy, right? Husband's maybe working all day, wife's not home, or wife's at home, or just had a kid, same thing. People who work all day. It gets dark at 4:30 right now where we're at. How are you supposed to do 9 to 5? Come home, scoop the poop? You can't, and then nobody wants to do it on a Saturday. Also, the vast majority, though, is just people that like the fact that they can outsource this. They don't want to do it themselves. We really are in like the day and age of convenience. We have 25-year-olds getting $50 hamburger delivered to their houses, for DoorDash, and we have all these things going on. So it's all about the convenience, I think, right? So I think the market's pretty much wide open. It doesn't matter anymore. It used to be like completely the 30 to 60 middle class kind of thing, like William's talking about. But I see more and more just people who are younger, our age, or 25 or 20 years old, who use the service.
You even have people that are just like renters and they don't even own their house. And like you were saying, some of our biggest routes are in like some of the low income areas where you wouldn't expect clients to be necessarily. So it's pretty interesting to see that. How many dogs on average do people have? I think our average is like right around 2 dogs on average. And then what's the usual size of the properties? Whatever, about 1/8 of an acre in our market.
Yeah, 5,000 square. That's like what we base our average size yard off of, but a lot of them I run into are like 3,500. The whole lot's like 1/8, and then the backyard's like half of that.
Yeah. So then basically, what are the key markets to talk to and insights you have found from thousands of clients? For us, our strategy is probably a little different. We're not in a huge market in our main market, so we actually had enough budget to basically target everybody. Which I'd even recommend if you don't have enough budget, just because if you're using like Google or Meta or those other ad platforms, they're going to go and they're going to use their AI and their targeting parameters to find you the best clients for the least amount of money. So kind of the bigger audience you have, the better that works out. All right. I live in a city with 54,000 people. The neighboring city has 182,000 people. Which city would be most beneficial to start the business in and expand? Or would it be better to start with both cities? They're very close to each other, approximately 35 minutes from one end to the other.
I think it depends on your goals, Alicia. So, like, how much money are you trying to make? Are you trying to get as many clients as possible? Are you just looking for like a one-person show where you can make $7,000 a month? You know, you just take home and pay yourself that. Uh, so, without knowing too much, it kind of depends on your goals. If you're looking for like a smaller operation, then I think you can definitely get at least 300 to 500 clients at least in the city of 54,000 people. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, well, we have a city that has around 10,000 people over in Idaho. We had a lot of like 50, 55 clients in that 10,000 city population. So you definitely can earn enough money to probably replace most incomes, depending on what kind of job you have, if that's what you're looking to do. But yeah, kind of as Levi said, it depends on what your goal is going to be. Um, but were us, I'd probably open in both cities if they're within a 30-minute drive, because that's how we set up our service areas, being able to drive from one side to the other in about 45 minutes or less. Then we break down each one by service day, so then you can get to anywhere in your service day in about 15 minutes or less, and it really helps reduce that drive time. So for you, you probably just have one service day in that 54,000 people town, and then the other 3 to 4 in the bigger city, and probably wouldn't kill your drive time too much because you're only going out there once a week.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think that's all the school questions. So we'll hop over to YouTube chat. All right, Poop Scoop Millionaire. Thank you, Justin. What's up, Rick? All right, how often do you change your Facebook ad, or when do you update the ad when you aren't getting the results you want? I'm at 4 weeks at $15 a day and only got one client, and it was a one-time cleanup. So how often you change your ads is going to be mostly dependent on how much money you spend. If you were spending $150 a day, you'd be able to tell if it was working or not about 10 times faster. I'll look to change out our ads once our market frequency gets it's typically between 3 and 7 is when your ad performance starts to go down a little bit. So I'll just keep an eye on that and really pay attention to our cost per acquisition. So if it's your cost per message, your cost per lead, if you're sending people to your website, the actual cost per sign up, that's kind of the number one thing. And if I see things getting way out of whack, I will shut down the ad campaign, make a new one, try out different ads, try out different creatives. And then usually what I'll do also is I'll take whatever the best performing ad was with that previous campaign, and I'll make sure to include that on the new one, just so we kind of have a reference point. Let's see, $15 a day at 4 weeks. So what is that?
$450.
Yeah, $450. Yeah, sounds like what you're doing is not working great. So I'd probably at where you're at right now, I would restart that campaign and test out some different creative. Yeah, because I honestly don't even count one-time cleanups as like a lead for us anymore.
Yeah, when we talk cost per acquisition, guys, it's just all recurring revenue because that's the lifeline of the business. One times are great, right? We're happy to help them and hopefully they convert into actual recurring customers, but you don't want to count, oh, I got 10 clients today or this week, right? Well, the one times don't technically count.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they count as clients. You could remarket to them later and all that. But if you're looking at like lifetime value and like your CAC to LTV ratio, it's not really going to help that much. More or less, like when we were getting started, the one-time cleanups would basically just pay for the marketing for themselves, or almost kind of a break even. But yeah. In the process of acquiring a Poop 911 here in Boise, Idaho. Interesting. Yeah, I'm curious to see how that goes. Acquiring a franchise location. Thanks, y'all, for all you do. Building my business one step at a time. Thanks to what I've learned. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hopefully they're not watching. Learn from your videos. Okay. For pricing, I followed your video, $25 once a week. Do you recommend charging for the first time cleans or just roll with it?
So $25 a week looks like 4 times 4.33. You're probably around $110 a month for 2 dogs if that's how you're charging. But so on the off season, which is basically May through December, the whole end of the year, we're giving out free initial cleanups. if I can get behind doing free initial cleanups if it doesn't snow where you're at, because like for us it's 2-hour cleanups every time, like, and that's how we kind of fund this whole expansion, right? So, but if you have I can get behind free initials if you don't get snow, but outside of that, you just kind of eat the cost up front, and then hopefully the customer stays on. And I think it's a pretty good way of getting them in the door, because the service is very sticky in itself. I've even had people tell me, I'm at their yard, hey, I would cancel my morning coffee before you guys. So giving a free initial cleanup is kind of our way to try to get in there and be sticky.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with Levi. Like, so for us, like our Seattle location doesn't snow. We're going to offer free initial cleanups all year round. In Spokane, we offer them most of the year except for after that snow melt. So usually Q1 through April, we will charge for those, because if we don't, we would literally lose hundreds of thousands of dollars. If you are just starting off though, and you need to get customers, and you got the time, and you got 2 hours to spend doing a little cleanup like that, then it might be worth your time if you don't have enough money in ads. So that's kind of what I would say.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to William's idea of the free trial method, which is make a list of every single person you know with dogs, and then call them, let them know about your amazing new business, and say, hey, I'd love to give you a free trial, whether it's 2 weeks or a month. I'm going to come clean your yard for free. After that, if you're not interested, or if you don't want to continue, no hard, no foul, no hard feelings, but this is what it costs. If you do want to continue, we'll have that conversation later. And then get your friends or whoever is on that list to give you the names of 2 people that they know with dogs, and then call them. And then hopefully you'll have a branch of a couple hundred people. And then if you sign up 200 people, X amount are just automatically going to stay on. And that's kind of how you can at least start to build off your business from there. With respect to like the one-time cleanups too, since we're on the conversation of first cleanups, I think it's important that you charge enough. Like, you want to kind of discourage the one-time cleanups. If you have the same price as like an initial cleanup for like the weekly thing, they might just get the one-time cleanup, right? So like our one-time cleanups are like $200, and then on the phone we tell you, hey, I just want a one-time cleanup. Okay, great, it's $200. Like, oh, it's a little expensive. Well, just so you know, our initial cleanup is actually, if you want to sign up for like a weekly plan, the first time cleanup is only half of that. It's like $100. What do you think of that? That would pretty much pay for a whole month for free for you. Would you like to give it a try? Something like that, right?
Yeah, definitely. All right. I want to scale quickly. Thought about finding smaller business owners and asking to buy their clients. Any experience with this? You're the Poop 911 in Boise. We have a little bit of experience with this. We did buy out one competitor. They had around, I don't know, 100, 125 clients, something like that. Which was fine. We got rid of one competitor, but they were mostly just picking up our scraps at that point anyways, even though they had been around for like 5-6 years longer than us. So that was good. But the thing about buying your competitors is they're not always going to be on the same software as you. They're not going to have the same service days. The pricing is typically going to be pretty messed up. In this case, it wasn't great. So when we bought that route and eventually made all those changes, I think we probably ended up losing about 40% of the route just because their clientele was not the same as ours. We also looked at buying another company in our area. I think they wanted like 80 grand for like 150 clients. But when you actually like run the math, if we would just spend that much money on marketing, we could have probably acquired 300 to 400 clients and had them on our pricing and on our software and on our systems without having to change anything, without running the risk of losing out there. But it definitely is an option if you want to grow fast. You just got to run the math and see if it's what it's worth to you. So I'm willing to pay a little bit of a premium, more than we can advertise ourselves, just to get that bulk of clients in one big go. But for us, if we were buying a company, we'd probably want them to have at least 300 plus recurring customers just to be worth our time. So.
Yeah, and be really, if you're gonna look into buying these, like William said, it just depends. But just be very conservative with your projections, right? Like, we assume we might lose half of our clients. If we lose 20% or 35%, great. That was expected. That was better than expected. But when you really try to see if they line up with your own policies and procedures, there's a better chance you'll retain more.
Yeah, and then you also need to look at, depending on what company you're buying, look beyond just the clients and the route. Like, some of them have good websites. They have a lot of good Google reviews. If they have other assets that are valuable and can actually attract more clients for you, it's important to take that into account also. But unfortunately, a lot of people out there that are looking to sell their routes or whatnot just aren't quite there yet. And that's why they're selling, because they haven't been able to grow it. So that's what I would say. And then the other thing too, I think you're in the franchise space. Like, if you want to buy another franchise that's under the same brand, like we had looked at like a couple of the franchise locations that were not doing well. We were looking at acquiring the route, which we actually couldn't do because we had to keep it all under that same brand. We couldn't rebrand the clients to Swoop Scoop, which is something we were not willing to do. So just one thing to keep in mind. All right. Can you explain why and how you use easy texting? So why we use easy texting is to remarket to leads that we collect on our website, just to help increase the conversion rate. Since we started this at the beginning of the year, I think we've literally onboarded a couple extra hundred customers just from those touch points of reaching back out. Why and how we use it. So how we have it set up is we have Sweep and Go set up. You could probably integrate it with another CRM if you don't use Sweep and Go, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But basically, people hit our website, they'll punch in the information to get a quote, and we'll actually collect their phone number before we provide them with that number. And then as soon as they give us their phone number, it gives them the price. And they could either choose to sign up at that point or not sign up. And then if they don't sign up, we basically send them a text message after 15 minutes with a little bit better promo. If they don't sign up again, we send them another text a day later. If they don't sign up again, we send them another text a couple days later. It's kind of like a final offer to them, and the promos get slightly better and better throughout that sequence. And then we've also we're working on building out a sales department now that actually reaches out and calls these prospects as they're coming in if they don't sign up. And that's been something we tested out this week, but it's been going pretty well. I think our first day, our sales rep closed 4 extra deals that we wouldn't have gotten. So it's pretty significant.
Because if you think about it too, like if you need something like an electrician or anything, what's the first thing you do? You Google, and then you see who has the best reviews, and then you call them. Well, if somebody doesn't answer, then you're kind of like frustrated, right? But imagine getting a quote on a website, and no more than 2 minutes later, they get called by the company. Hey, saw you had some interest in the website. I'm here to see how I can help. Right? It's very professional. Like, wow, this company's really put together. So even if they don't sign up right then on the phone, if they ever need somebody in the future, 6 months later, a year later, tomorrow, they're going to know who was very professional and on it. And they're going to expect the same kind of, they can come to expect that same level of service in the yards.
Yeah. And it's also a good reminder too, if you hit them with that text, they're going to have that quote and your information just like sitting in their cell phones. It's a lot easier to be scrolling through messages and see that again as kind of like a reminder later down the road. So, all right. Hello, Tim. Your instant quote generates a price based on 1/8 acre lawn or less. What if the yard is half an acre? How do you address the difference in the quote with the customer?
You can do 2 things, Matt. So when they sign up on the website, you can either right there before you reach out to them, you can measure their yard on Google Maps. Just their address is already in Sweep and Go or your CRM, right? So you can pull their address up on Google Maps, right click, measure distance, and then you can draw lines to see how much square foot you're dealing with. If it's larger than 5,000 for us, then we charge more. But or you could just kind of come out on the first visit, and then either you or one of your workers needs to set a job note like, hey, this yard is larger than average. And then after that, you can kind of handle the call and then figure out what you want to do about that. At our company right here, our operations, we just have them set a note saying, hey, this yard's bigger than normal. I want to come out and try to be more as sticky as possible, right? Like it's easy to say when somebody signs up, oh, we charge different. It's going to be another $50 a month. You know, your yard is larger than normal. They might not even convert or sign up, but it's a little bit easier to have that conversation after you come out and they saw how cool you guys were and how good of a job you did. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it, I guess.
Okay. 30 people watching and 7 likes. Come on, guys, pump up the mic. All right, you guys doubled that since that comment. Thank you, Justin. John Bunn of the Woods. I started and have been handing out door to door and putting flyers on community boards. Any other ideas besides Facebook marketing? Yeah, there's all sorts of ideas. Put out the door, flyers on community boards. Yeah, for us, door hangers and flyers, and like even going to vets and stuff didn't prove to be too effective. I mean, for us, we'd have to hand out like 1,000 to 1,500 door hangers to get one client. A couple strategies that you could try that might be a little bit more high leverage is trying to get some kind of partnership with like a local adoption shelter, like one of the humane societies. You can go in, you can donate some money, you can volunteer some time, and then if you get to know the person in charge, you can try to come up with some kind of a deal for them where you say, hey, if we can put our information in the adoption packets, we'll donate $50 for every customer that signs up for our service. Sometimes they might even let you put like a banner or a sign up in their lobby, which could be a great, really low cost way to actually get customers. That's one thing that we're going to be working a little bit more on this year. You got the free trial method where you're reaching out to friends and family, or even people that you don't know. I know you said not Facebook specifically, but if you are posting in like Facebook groups, which doesn't cost any money, if anybody interacts with your ad, shoot them a DM, even if they dislike it, share it, they comment, but maybe they don't reach out. Just shoot them a DM, ask if they know anybody that might be interested in trying out the service for free.
Something else you can do too, if I were to do it again as well, I would contact as many of the big lawn mowing companies as I could, and I would just try to set up an appointment. And I'd say, hey, how annoying is it when your workers are running over dog poop all day, it gunks up the equipment, it slows you guys down. I'd love to build my routes around yours, and I'll come in the day before. I'll work around you guys, and send me some business, and we'll make sure that your operations are as efficient as possible, right? So they mow on Tuesday, you come on Monday, just rinse and repeat, right? So it should be pretty easy to set up those kinds of conversations. But that if you're already new and your routes aren't really fixed, right, that might be a great option for you.
Yep. And if you're new, use that to your advantage. I mean, you can let people know you're just starting off, get those Google reviews in exchange for some service. Like people want to help each other out. So,
and a lot of these mowing companies won't, if there's like like dog poop in the yard, like even like a week's worth, they won't service the yard, and then the customer gets mad and this and that. So it's like a win-win all around for the lawn mowing side.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, look for those win-win relationships. Okay. How do you communicate the difference between initial and first-time cleanings with the customer?
Those are basically the same thing. So a one-time cleanup is simply that, right? It's a one banger. So somebody calls us, hey, the snow melted, or hey, I need a one-time cleanup. We'll come back next year, or whatever. They can do it whenever they want. The one-time cleanups, they might call us 4 months later, but it's a one-time thing with like no expectation of us working together, on a recurring basis. An initial cleanup is basically the same thing as a first-time cleanup. It's the very first cleanup to the start of a service with the expectation is forever, right? Like Mrs. Jones signed up for the weekly plan or the once a month plan. We're going to be still coming out. So it's the same thing, basically.
Just got my first client with 5 small dogs. Told me she cleaned in a month. It took 2 hours. I charged $60 initial fee, then $5 each dog, totaling $85. She paid me $100. Thanks, guys, for the inspiration. Awesome. Yeah, congrats on getting your first client. That's usually the hardest one to get.
That's awesome. Hey, Matt, by the way, too, if you want to communicate with the customer, just tell them, hey, I'm happy to walk you through the process. We have a bunch of different cleanup options for you. The first time we come out is called an initial cleanup. It costs blank. So that's kind of how that works. After that, if you want us out every week, it's $25 a week, right? If you want us out every 2 weeks, it's this. So just kind of let them know what that is. The first time we come out, it's called an initial cleanup. It costs blank.
Yep. Would spending $100 per day on Facebook ads be sufficient to acquire a good amount of clients per month? Yeah, I guess it depends on what you consider a good amount of clients. And you'll be able to tell if things are working like really quick. If you're spending $100 a day, kind of the minimum I would recommend is around $50 a day. $100 a day is going to be much better. But yeah, depending on your CAC, if you're in the busy time, you could maybe get 30 customers a month for that during the spring rush. So if you're doing things right. And then kind of the trick from there is scaling it, right? So, okay, if it's working, you're getting customers for $100 a month or $100 a pop. How do you get that? How do you spend $200 a day or $300 a day or $500 a day? So the most we were able to scale up was like $1,000 a day just during our super busy season and kind of maintain that good CAC. But then you got all sorts of other issues, like how do we hire all these employees? How do we buy all these trucks? So that's really what fast growth looks like, is being able to scale those ads and just using the cost per acquisition versus your lifetime value, how much cash flow you're bringing in to how much you're spending to get a customer.
Like William said too, like I've talked to people, like it seems to be happening pretty frequently. They're getting discouraged. They're like, oh man, I only got 5 clients, in 2 weeks or whatever. I'm like, well, how much did you spend on ads? He's like, well, I spent like $300. So I said, so you got a client for $75? That's a great price. But you got a client for $50, right? There's nothing going wrong with that, right? You're printing money essentially. So just turn up the budget a little bit, or just keep doing what you're doing and go from there. But like you have to track the cost per acquisition. Otherwise you really have no idea how you're performing. And some people are doing that and they're still like, why am I not getting all these clients? It takes time, right? It takes time. You have to build up the brand. Eventually people see your ads 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Like in sales, we probably all know it takes multiple touch points. Most of the time somebody has to see something like 7 times to actually buy. So don't get discouraged if the numbers are making sense. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. On the other side of that too is being able to track your lifetime value, which is basically your average monthly ticket divided by your churn rate, which is the percentage of customers that cancel. So like for a lot of us, our average lifetime value is worth like over $2,000. So if you're spending $100 or even $200 to get a customer, like you're going to make that money back on the long run, especially if you're just starting off and you're doing all the cleaning yourself and you don't have that labor cost, like you're going to be making that money back pretty fast. All right. What's the most common service at the initial sign up? Overall, if different, please explain what you generally see. What's the most common service at initial?
Like deodorizing / poop scooping, or you think that's what it is?
Either that or the frequency. Like all we do is scoop poop, so we don't offer any other services right now. But we are working on a new one for next year that I don't think anybody that we've ever talked to offers that as a poop scoop company. So stay tuned for that.
With regards to the census, like 2/3 choose weekly. They have 2 dogs, basically, right? Weekly service. Like a quarter choose every 2-week cleanups. 7%. I just checked all these numbers. 7% is once a month, and then like 4% is twice a week. Just to give you like an idea of what that looks like.
Yeah. If we missed the question, feel free to drop another one in the chat, and we'll come back to you. All right. I'd like to submit a proposal to my city for doing their dog parks, 2 and their dog waste stations. I think 14 dog waste stations. Not sure where and how to start on something like that. So we have a pricing calculator in the Poop Scoop Millionaire, but essentially how we price out commercial properties and even I guess government properties would work pretty much the same. Is we charge per square foot for like common area cleaning. So a good rule of thumb is that an experienced scooper can clean about 1 acre per hour. So I would just take however big it is, you can just measure it on Google Maps and just say if it's 2 acres and I want to make $100 an hour, we would charge $200 every time we clean that area. And then for dog waste stations, I like to just price per station like a flat rate. Depending on how many they have, it's going to be anywhere from like $10 to $18 a station, kind of in that range. So
yeah, if you're also a part of the PSM Rio disc, if you're also part of the PSM, William built a great commercial template, like a proposal. It's like a 10-slide thing, and it pretty much has everything you need to do in there. You just plug and play, and it's ready to go. Like it's closed a lot of great deals for us. A lot of inbound calls we've gotten up to $2,000 a month, kind of in scope with what you're looking at for that project. So definitely check out the proposal template.
All right, let's see here. If you're hauling the poop and don't have the funds to get a location, how did you guys deal with that in the beginning? Fun times in the beginning. So yeah, what did we do with all the dog poop when we first started off before we had an office?
I had a start, like a third of the startup cost was a trailer hitch, and it took like 3 weeks to get it during COVID. And then one of those rack things that you put on the back of your SUV. And I just remembered after like 2 weeks, like one cleanup would fill that whole thing. And then I was like reduced to putting it in the back of my car. And then we put it in my dad's trailer. And then I just stacked it so full, it just broke his axle. And then he's like,
the tires popped, and the axle snapped in half.
He's like, you guys need to get this shit out of here. So after that, we contacted like Waste Management, like, hey, this is what we do. What do we do from here? They're like, just get a dumpster. I was like, okay.
So, where do we have our first dumpster? Was that like your dad's house or my uncle's house or like?
Is your uncle's house?
Yeah. So we're a little scrappy when we first started, just trying to figure out what to do. If you don't have anybody that you can put a big pile of crap dumpster at their house, one option you could do is a site called neighbor.com. And it's where people basically rent out like parking spaces, or if they have like a field that's empty, you can actually go there and find people that are willing to let you put a dumpster on their property for maybe a couple $100. So does cost money, but if you don't have your own location, you don't have anywhere else to put it, then that's a good option. But even better option, if you can't get a dumpster, is to just not take the waste.
Yeah, put it in the customer's trash can, their receptacle, right? If it's not outside on the day you're there, just triple bag it, make it look nice, put it next to the gate. And if they still haven't taken care of that since the next time you show up, just, hopefully the garbage is out again.
Yep. Is your pricing consistent in all service areas? I only mention it because of possible lower income areas / different demographics. So our pricing is the same per each location. So our Spokane, North Idaho locations, all going to be the same pricing no matter who you are or where you are. But our pricing in different cities is different. So like in Seattle, the cost of living is much higher. The wages you have to pay are much higher. So we have to adjust our pricing to kind of meet those needs. But per each location, we don't give like special pricing. It's like the same for everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Google Ads seem to be pushing Performance Max campaigns. Is it worth it over search? So I actually don't run our own ads anymore, but from what I've heard is it's good to start with search and start feeding like conversion data into your Google Ads, and then eventually, once you have enough data, the Performance Max campaigns can start to outperform search. But it's something that I haven't personally ran. Like I said, we just hire people to run that for us now. Eventually, that's the goal. Is we'll have people that do every aspect of the business and just make the decision. So, which we're working towards. Why are you having to put so many door hangers out to get one customer? Is print marketing for the scoop industry that different? I think a couple of reasons. Number one, not everybody has a dog. It's kind of the first thing, and then depending on how much market awareness there is for the service. Like some people have never heard of it before, or you got some people that think that, if you don't pick up after yourself, you shouldn't have a dog. And seeing ads and like stuff on social media all the time kind of reinforces that that's not necessarily true anymore. But in regards to door hangers, I think it's just a numbers game. It's just a less efficient way. Less people use the service, less people know about the service compared to like lawn care or pest control. So I think that plays a lot into it. So
Yeah, but those are kind of just natural like conversion rates for door hangers anyways. Like William said, I think like 58% of households have a dog, right? And then so you just miss out on, 42% right off the bat. So it kind of makes sense if you think about it.
yeah,
Not to say they won't call you 6 months later, right? But right off the rip, you might get one client, and then who knows, you might get four from it down the road, right? It's hard to say.
yeah. So, but it could work for some people in some markets. Maybe our door hangers just suck, and maybe everybody we've ever talked to, door hangers sucked also. It is possible. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, print kills it on the lawn care and pest control side. Yep.
Nice.
I have seen that. Yeah, people giving like instant quotes and stuff on their door hangers. Maybe stuff like that could be a good value add also.
Mm-hmm. If you're gonna do anything like door hangers or signs, I would do yard signs. Those tend to perform much better. You're not gonna get rich off of it, but you're definitely gonna get some stuff coming in.
Yeah, we've got quite a few from yard signs and the truck wraps and all that stuff, but not from door hangers.
Yeah.
But it's not. It is possible. So people do it all the time.
And it's a cheap way to find out, right? Just costs you your time, and I think what 2,500 is like $125 or something, like for door hangers. Yeah, pretty cheap.
Yeah. I think so. Do you recommend telling potential customers you're a new business and maybe you are the only person in that business? Yeah, if you're new, like I wouldn't try to hide the fact that you're new. You're not going to be able to compete with like us at like Swoop Scoop unless you have some kind of unique selling point, right? So you're the person that's actually out there scooping. You're the business owner. They get to deal directly with you, especially when you're first starting off. That'll go a long ways versus like people that might want to sign up with us. Like they're not going to be able to talk to the owners and things like that. So it's an advantage that you have over some of the bigger companies. So I would say use that to the best of your ability. Especially if you've got maybe you got kids or a wife or whatever, if you can use them in like some of your advertisements, it's going to go a long ways, especially to start getting that initial traction as you're building up your business.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm discouraged a little bit, but it's Christmas, so I'm not sure dog poop is what's on everyone's mind right now. I only got 3 clients. Let's see, it's Christmas, yeah. Holidays can be tough, but also going into next week, I think things are going to start to pick up. Some people they refer to it as quarter 5. Everybody during quarter 4 spent all their money, all their time buying other people's presents. Now it's time for people to buy something nice for themselves, like not having to pick up dog crap anymore. So I actually just cranked up our ads pretty significantly yesterday, and we've had a lot more leads rolling in. So I think it's a good time to advertise and kind of have that messaging like, hey, get yourself something nice. Like you spent all this money on Christmas for other people. You could also run some kind of time sensitive promos to get people kind of that fear of missing out. So we're letting people know, like, hey, it's your last chance to get a free cleanup that we normally charge $150+ for if you sign up by the end of the year. So kind of working in some scarcity to our advertising seemed to help like quite a bit. We signed up over 10 people today or something.
Yeah, last week, like 27 people in one day. It was pretty intense.
Yeah. Yep. So
Maybe even like run a little marketing piece about a New Year's resolution of not having to scoop the yard. Who knows? You can make it fun, right? So
yeah, definitely. But yeah, definitely try to have some like urgency in your ad, especially with the end of the year coming up, because the end of the year only happens once. So use it. All right. Wondering if anyone frequency. Okay, it's Rio Bro was asking about frequency.
how often we come out?
Yep. Yeah. So I think it's what 65% weekly, and then maybe 15-20% biweekly, 5% twice a week, 5% once a month for the frequencies we offer, roughly. All right. Wonder if anyone had walked the parks in their town and picked up poop as a free community service and posted about it. No dog owners are supposed to clean up after the dogs, but I've seen dog poop in the parks. It's not something that we have done, but it's definitely something that you can do. Maybe even have like a community event about it. Like, hey, we're going to clean up this park on this date, and get the team out there and do it. Might not be a bad idea. Maybe check with the park people to make sure that's okay with them, and also gives you an opportunity to talk to them. Maybe they might hire you to clean some parks. So
Yeah, or maybe even if you had the time and if it's not like a massively huge project, you can say, hey, I'd love to just take care of this for you guys. And maybe in exchange, I can put up some yard signs around the park, or when I'm there cleaning, maybe I can give some business cards out or something. Kind of wheel and deal a little bit with them.
Definitely. If you book initial cleanups during the second week of the month, do you charge for the initial cleanup and the remaining 2 months? You would charge for the remaining 2 weeks. I guess if they're on quarterly billing, we charge for 2 months.
Yeah. So, okay. So if they're on monthly, right, first of the month, and they just pay month to month on the first cleanup, they get billed for the whole month on the first go, right? And then if they're paying quarterly, they get billed on the first visit for the whole 3 months, whatever that is. They pay up front for everything on the first cleanup. Hopefully that kind of makes sense.
Yep. Okay. Just popping in to say what's up. What's up,
What
Mike?
up, Mike?
Your question answered. I'm a member of Poop Scoop Millionaire. Thank you guys for all the information. I watched every free video and signed up to learn more. Awesome.
Thank you,
Rio Bro. All right, Matt. Sweep and Go versus Jobber. I probably should just make a video on this, honestly. For us, we use Sweep and Go. I looked at a lot of them, and I've used a lot of different CRMs. Like my other company, I use Service Titan, which is probably like the best CRM out of all of them, but it's only for certain industries, and it's also very expensive. I think I spend over $5,000 a month for Service Titan. I use House Call Pro for another business. I looked at Jobber, looked at Sweep and Go when we first started off, and the reason we went with Sweep and Go is because it's the only actual industry-specific CRM like designed just for pooper scoopers. So when we were first starting off, we didn't really know what we were doing, and we're actually able to use Sweep and Go and kind of reverse engineer some of the features and build it into the services that we wanted to offer, whether that was the gate photos or the disinfectant. Like we learned a lot of that just through how Sweep and Go was set up. Looking at it now, it's come even further. I would say the big advantages of Sweep and Go versus Jobber is going to be number one, their client onboarding form is just a lot better. It's a lot more concise. The tracking of data is going to be a lot better. All the metrics on the back end of Sweep and Go are designed for the pooper scooper industry. So you can track your churn, how many customers you got, like all that kind of stuff is just built into the dashboard. Those are probably my two favorite features. One feature I don't like is that they're only available in the United States. So if you're in Canada or the UK or Australia, Jobber can definitely work and get the job done. I would just say it's a little bit less efficient.
Yeah, even to add on to what William's saying, I guess my 2 cents on this, like from an operational standpoint, like let's think about this for a second. The job we know is very repetitive, right? You're doing the same thing. So you got the on the way text messages, you got the gate photos, you got all this stuff. And so if you think about it, if you don't have it already built into your system, what does that take? Like if you're to send Mrs. Jones like every single yard, right, you have for the day, It takes 30 seconds maybe to manually text them. If you don't have Sweep and Go, right? You got to punch in their phone number, do this. You got to stick your hand over and get the gate photo, and then you have to text them again. That probably takes what? Let's just say reasonably 60 seconds per yard. I have 15 people, 20 people running around. They do 30 yards a day. That's literally like 8 hours every single day of shift work. 30 hours, right? 30 divided by this. Like it literally saves like hundreds of dollars every single day, even from an operational standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So like, because it's such a repetitive task, right? You want to
Mhm.
automate that as much as possible.
Mhm. Yeah. And the other thing I like about Sweep and Go is they're not like a ginormous company where it's like you put in a product request or something that you want to see change or see a feature that you want to add to the platform. Like they actually like listen to people and implement things. So, like a lot of the reporting metrics and things like that, we were able to help them add. And then they opened up a new app store, so now it's easier for people to set up like the text message remarketing that we have. They have an open API now, so it's easy to connect it with like a review generation software, other things like that. So they're doing a lot of things that are pretty useful. So
even when we started too, like we were nobodies when we started, right? And I had so many questions about the software. We were growing fast, right? And I just didn't have time to look into this stuff. I must have shot them like 5 messages every single day, and they always got back to me super fast. And they were always like, "Hey, Levi, thanks for your question today," or "Thanks for your message today," or "Thanks for asking this today." Like ever since day one, they were just unbelievably professional, and just they acted like we were one of their biggest clients when we were nobodies. So that's the last thing I want to say about them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And also, yeah, we're not like sponsored by Sweep and Go or anything like that. I actually just think they're the best. So I should be sponsored. I'd be able to retire by now, probably. All right. Does Sweep and Go include credit card processing, or do you need to add something like Square? So they have 2 options kind of built out. What is it? Card Connect or Card Point and Stripe. So, and depending how much volume you're running, will determine which one of those that you want to sign up with. So
either way, you get the funds pretty quick as you grow, and you have like I think a lot of people. I'm not exactly sure, but a lot of people I think start with Stripe and then they switch to Card Connect, and then after that, like we get our funds like the next day with the Card Connect or whatever. So they have that already built in.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how fast the other ones are, but yeah, the more money you process, the longer your history, the faster you get the money. So. What profit margins would you recommend aiming for the first year? I want to start off by structuring the business with hiring employees sooner than later. So I'm trying to keep that in mind. Yeah, if you're not hiring employees and you're doing all the work yourself, I mean, you could probably have some pretty crazy 70-80+% margins. Your margins will shrink as you grow for obvious reasons. You're not actually providing labor. And then when you have to bring in office staff, your margins will go down. And then when you actually bring on management, the margins will go down. So it'll kind of just depend on where you're at. I would say 30% is like a really good place to shoot for, but yeah, could be tricky. It also depends on how you're calculating profit. Also, if you're looking at seller discretionary earnings, or including your wages, or if you're just looking at straight EBITDA numbers, like all that's going to look a little bit different. So hopefully that wasn't more confusing.
But on the bottom line, 30% is very reasonable. It's not a lot of cogs, right? We have trash bags, gas, insurance, labor. That's like it.
Yep. So. Yep. All right. Thank you. You're welcome. Sorry, I had to step away. Not sure if my question about print marketing got answered. Also for commercial, if you don't take the waste with you, what do you do? Yeah, this was the door hanger question.
Oh, did we answer that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for commercial, if we don't take the waste with us, what do we do? So we don't push commercial really that big. If it's an apartment complex, a lot of times they just have a dumpster that they allow us to use. But otherwise, we're not really going after that business right now, just because there's so much residential clients that are out there. So, yeah, I would just say try to use their dumpster. Most like big HOAs or apartment complexes, they will have a dumpster on property. So. And if not, this might not be a good client for you because you're going to have to go get all that infrastructure, and it's probably not worth it to get a spot to put a dumpster, buy trucks versus cars. Like it's probably not worth it for 1 or 2 clients. But if you want to build your whole business around that, then it's probably a different story. And you're probably going to want to take the waste if you want to have a big commercial portion of your business.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I mean, you can even factor into the price. Just say, hey, we use your I would end up using your dumpster on site. So I'm going to give you $100 off or a month for that or something like whatever it is, right? Depending on the size of the contract. But
yeah.
Yeah.
But then again, some contracts could be a lot. I mean, you can make 50 grand a year or 80 grand a year off some big contracts if you have a huge apartment complex. So that could change how you think about it. How would you go about approaching an apartment complex in regards to the no soliciting policy the majority have in place?
I would give them, so what I do, or what I would do, I guess, rather, if I wanted to close these deals, I would actually call in and make sure that the community's pet friendly. That's like my first question, right? Because we want to make sure they have dogs. And then I would say, hey, this is who I am with Swoop Scoop. We offer a service that you guys might really appreciate. And say, we're dog waste removal service. So we work for a lot of different properties around town. Do you find that you have any sort of dog waste issues on the community, just people aren't picking up after them, or the stations don't have enough bags or whatever, right? And then if they say, yeah, that's kind of a problem, well, hey, no problem. I'd love to come out and connect with you on this, maybe with the maintenance guy, and I'd love to do like a complimentary walkthrough of the community, figure out where the problem areas are, and then I'd love to structure a proposal for you and see if it makes sense, right? Something like that. But I would just call, right, and then try to link up with somebody if they do have a problem and drop off some information, do a walkthrough of the community, shake some hands, and then put together a proposal. It's like by far probably the easiest way of going about it.
Yeah. Okay. Much love to you guys. Started about a month ago and just signed up for my 6th customer yesterday. Shooting for 10 by the end of the month and 50 by the end of spring rush. PSM has been a massive help. Awesome,
That's
Max.
sick, dude. Thank you.
That is awesome. So you got, where are you at? Uh-oh, I lost it.
He's right here. Go up 4. There you go.
Okay, there we go. So a month ago, signed up 6. Yeah, no, I think 50. That's definitely a good goal because spring rush things are going to get pretty nuts. So especially if you'll have 10 by the end of the year, yeah, I think you'll be in a good spot. So not bad, an extra $5,000 a month at that point.
If you guys are thinking about if you've been holding on for a couple months, like, oh, maybe I'll start this, maybe I won't. This really is the time to start. Like, this is the hot season; it's coming up, and so it's just really the perfect time to grow your business and escape the 9-to-5 rat race or whatever that you're doing in life. If you wanted to always have a company, this is about as easy as it gets. Sometimes it's not easy; it's simple, though, right? It's a simple business.
Yeah, so now's the time to do it. If you try to start in the middle of summer, it's probably not the time. But if you can get in Q1, really Q4, like right now, learning the ropes, learning how everything works, so that you can actually hit the ground running during the spring rush, you're going to be in a much better position. Like in our market, I used to see all the time new competitors pop up in the middle of like June, which is like the worst possible month to start, and they were out of business before the busy season hit, and they missed out on that spring rush where they would have started at the right time. It probably would have been a different story for a lot of folks.
And it's nice to know this stuff too, like having a community and a group like this where we can talk about this stuff, because like we got lucky probably. Like if me and William started like the same time in June, like what we thought, oh, this is gonna be crazy busy, right? And then we might have just quit after the same thing over again, right? Like 4 months, this isn't working out. We have like 12 customers. We might as well just call it. Yeah. So we started like in November, right? So we got pretty lucky.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay. I'm meeting a potential client tomorrow for kennels. They have at least 30 dogs a day. In the busy months, I'm planning on charging $300 per week with waste disposal. Is this fair, do you think? 30 dogs.
Are you cleaning kennels or like the yard outside? 30 dogs. I'm trying to think how long that takes me. It'd probably take me like an employee, I guess. Just depends on how small the area is, how big it is, if you're cleaning kennels, if you're outside. But I don't know, it'd probably take like, I guess I'd probably carve out like 2 hours for that, a visit. So what is that, like 9.5 hours a month if I came in once a week? So you're probably right in there, honestly. Yeah, 2 hours, $150 a little bit below that, $150 an hour. I mean, you're probably right in there, honestly, Jamie.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing too is you can maybe price out the first one at a rate that might be a little bit lower, see how long it actually takes to do it, and then kind of adjust from there. Personally, I don't like to do like non-standard stuff really, but we're kind of at a bigger scale. So if there's anything that like deviates from, okay, we're cleaning just like a regular yard with a regular amount of dogs, like I don't really like to even touch stuff like that. So,
Yeah, and like William said too, I think as long as I don't think there's a wrong way to do this. I think as long as you set up the expectation saying, "Hey, I've never really had a call like this before," even if you have, right? I've never really had a call like this before. I'm going to carve it out for this much time. I'm not really sure how long it's going to take, but that'll give me a way better idea of what we're looking for in the future, and we'll kind of modify the prices accordingly. As long as you actually set the expectation that there could be a price change after you come out and do that, then I think there's no surprises, right?
Yep. Hi, what's up? Thanks to you, I'm starting this business in South Cali. Hope people here will use the service. People there do use the service, so you are in luck. There's quite a few businesses popping up in California, and there's even some pretty big businesses in California. I think I talked to one with 1,000+ clients. So, yeah, definitely a good market.
Where there's people, there's dogs.
Yep. What are your thoughts on having employees use their own cars? I know you lose out on the marketing, but would the savings balance that out? Well, we like to have our own cars, obviously, because that's what we do. And the marketing, I think, is well worth it. Yeah, if you're crunched for cash, maybe you don't have the startup capital, I think that could be a good option when starting off. That probably would have helped us when we were starting off, but I definitely would prefer to have our own vehicles. I don't want to be paying mileage reimbursement and stuff. If you're paying the max federal rate, which I don't know if you're required to in every state, that actually cost more than buying the truck and paying for gas.
Yeah, and also, I mean, even looking at our numbers from last year, like wraps go hard. Like I think last year we got like 180 clients from the vehicle wraps. So, if our LTV is like $2,000, like, are we really going to save like $300,000+ in LTV, or just, I guess, revenues and stuff by having people drive their own cars? Probably not.
Well, and I mean, it makes our Facebook ads work better. It's an extra frequency that people see. It makes Google ads work better. It makes our website look better. Like, it makes us look more professional when we show up, so we can charge more money. There's a lot of extra benefits other than just getting phone calls from the wraps that might even be more valuable than those phone calls in the first place. So
that's true, because like when I'm talking to people, when I'm interviewing and stuff, I'll ask somebody, have you, like I say, I tell them who we are, and I say, have you heard of us? They're like, oh yeah, I've seen the trucks around town. So like, I guess that kind of pretty much solidifies what William's talking about too.
Yeah, there's even somebody else on a Skool that saw like my profile picture, because we were in the top like 100 communities of all time for Poop Scoop Millionaire. He saw my profile picture with our truck, and he was like, dude, I live like in your area. And I even have people reach out to me for like non-Poop Scoop stuff because he recognized our truck wrap. So
that's cool. It only really, like, I remember from even having like back in the day when we only had 3 wrap trucks going around, people were like, dude, I see your trucks everywhere. I'm like, oh my gosh, 3 just do the job apparently.
Yeah.
So it's a powerful thing.
Well, and if you're in a market that maybe hasn't heard of the service that much, it adds legitimacy to it as well. So it's like, oh, this must be like a real, like, legit business if they paid all that money to have a full truck wrap. So another thing to keep in mind.
Yeah.
So truck wraps all day. I would not do a truck wrap. All right. Thanks for the info. Got to run. I'll pick up the tail end of this when I get back. All right. Thanks Justin. Appreciate it. Man. Go electric. Yes, you can go electric. My concern with going electric, though, is having to install chargers either at your office or at your employee's house if they let them take it home. Like in our city, like a lot of electrical panels are outdated and they can't handle chargers, so you'd have to like replace their whole panel and do everything. That could cost like $5 to $10,000. So, which I know because I own an electrical company. All right. Were you able to secure any small business grants or grants dealing with human health or environmental impact? No. We have not. I didn't even look into that, to be honest. Do a lot of clients want y'all to do leaf removal services as well?
Yeah, I just had a call last week. It'll definitely happen. You'll get people asking all sorts of stuff. Do you do chicken coops? Do you do horse poop? Do you do this? Do you do goose? You guys do leaves, right? So I try to be as helpful as possible because, like William said, we're just trying to be the best at one thing right now. And so I'll actually get a network of companies that I can call, like that I trust and stuff, that have kind of served us well in the past. Like a leaf removal company will be popular. A lawn mowing company will be popular, right? Those are kind of like the 2 main ones. Maybe snow removal once in a while that happens, but I'll basically already have something in the holster, like a company I can work with, and then I'll be able to make the suggestion, or better yet, I'll just call that company and say, hey, Mrs. Jones was asking for a leaf removal quote. Can you give her a call, right? And then I'll just make sure it's okay with the client to share that information. But it kind of helps make you, I don't know, it's just a really good thing you can do for your clients, and they'll remember you for that, right? Like, oh, this Pooper Scooper service, they help me with all this other stuff too, right? They can at least know the people, right?
Mhm.
So it just adds value as a company, being able to help your own customers out.
Yeah, and I've seen you might even be wondering like, okay, should I offer the leaf removal service like myself, my Pooper Scooper services? So my advice for you would be it depends on how big of a company you want to grow. If you want to grow a really big company, I would focus just all on one service. If you have an easy time getting clients, that's definitely the way to go. You're going to be more profitable. You're going to have less moving parts. It's going to be less operationally difficult to run. But if you do have a hard time getting clients, maybe you got 20 clients and you just need to make some extra money, then I wouldn't mind doing other services at that point. But just know it's going to be a lot harder to scale that business.
If you're a established company, it kind of becomes harder to team up with like a lawn mowing company, at least one, because the routes aren't perfect, right? So what I did in the past was I'll find like three different companies I like and trust, and like if a problem comes up, oh, you guys come on Thursdays, like we need you guys on this day. I'll be able to, out of the three companies that work with my routes, right? Not one is just going to probably work with your routes, but to get full coverage on like a mowing thing, I'll usually have like three referrals I'll send out. Oh, I know J&J's lawn mowing helps me on Thursdays if I have a problem, stuff like that. So just knowing the people and building those relationships will help you a lot.
Yep. All right. Do you have a problem with technicians idling their car on hot or cold days while servicing a lawn?
So you mean like they'll just park the car, go clean, and leave the car on? Hopefully not. That would. Well, we have like GPS stuff in the cars, and we can tell if the car is idling or if it's like running or if it's off. I haven't really seen any kind of problems with that. That would be a waste of gas, though.
Yeah, we actually don't spend as much on gas as we thought we did. I own a seasonal business that is dead during the winter. It picks up mid-March, early April. Could the dog waste removal business complement this well, seasonality-wise, or would it be too busy with the spring? I would say that would complement you very well, because as soon as April hits, things tend to die off in the poop scoop world. So just know that coming out of spring rush, you're going to have a lot more clients than you did when you went into it. So if you can kind of project the demand and be able to adjust for your other business, you'll be in a good spot.
Yeah. It's 1 acre outside. Okay, so Jamie, if you get those larger yards, how I usually do it is I base it by like 1/8 of an acre. It's not a perfect science, but it'll kind of get you in the right area. So you have 1/8 of an acre, that's the average price. If somebody has like 1/4 of an acre, it's like another 1/8 of an acre. I'll usually up it by like the 2 dog price. Like if they have 1 dog, I'll charge them for 3 dogs. If it's like 3/4 of an acre, it's like the 5 dog price. Or you can just probably for every single 1/8 of an acre, you can probably just, or half an acre, 1/4 of an acre, you could probably just up the price like $40 a month, honestly.
This is for the kennel. So I would build with commercial rates.
Oh, this is for yeah. Okay, I see.
Yeah. I'd probably bill like per the acre. So maybe beef up that quote a little bit, because 30 dogs would probably take longer than a regular apartment complex. So I don't know, maybe $150 an acre per cleanup, something like that. All right. How do you get employees? How could you pay them enough while still making a profit? Who's to say they won't just quit and start their own business? That has happened.
It has.
Yeah, you want to talk about getting employees?
Sure. So notoriously, 95% of the time, I just use Indeed. It works extremely well. I think there's something, it's kind of cool, right? Because I make the title Pooper Scooper Needed or Professional Pooper Scooper Needed, like $20 an hour, M through F, or whatever I need, right? And you don't see that very often on the job boards. So it's really interesting to people. It piques their interest. Like, what the heck is this? Is this really a thing? Blah, 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 blah. And so we get a lot of applications, notoriously, for this business. I've never ran into one person who I've either coached or talked to where they've had issues getting applicants, which is cool, right? Number one, because we pay well. Like our technicians start at $20 an hour. First of the month following 90 days, they have benefits, health, dental, vision. They can take the truck home, all of those things, right? So we're trying to do a great job running a good company, but there's just not a problem. So you'll get a ton of volume. I would say it takes me 100 resumes on Indeed to find 6 people I want to talk to, and I like 2 of them. So it's definitely an investment of your time. You got to really sift through these and try to find the right people, but quantity is definitely not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And then
who's to say they won't just quit and start their own business? Yeah, that can happen. Non-competes don't really hold up for entry-level type employees. But one thing that you probably shouldn't worry too much about it is the only function of the business that they've done is going out and scooping poop, which is the easiest function of the business to find somebody to actually do the work. So they don't know how to advertise, they don't know how to do taxes, they don't know how to route, they don't probably know what software you use, they don't know how to do bookkeeping. Like, there's so much more that goes into the business than just scooping poop, and that's like the least, I guess, knowledge-based position. So more than likely they will fail and fail fast. That's what we've seen with people that have tried to do the same thing.
Yeah, William makes a great point too, because like no matter what business you have, like 20% of it probably something like that is the actual service, right? It's scooping the poop. The rest is just what he said, all those other hats.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's any business. Like, it doesn't just apply to pooper scooper. If you're an electrician or a lawn care person, like, that could always happen. So all right, where can I park the car if not allowed at home and don't have an office and new hire employee? I check out that neighbor.com app. You can just Google like neighbor, like parking lots. They got people that rent out garages or just their driveway or open fields. It's a good option. That's actually what we did in Seattle. We don't have an office over there. We just have like a big parking lot with like 8 parking spots to start with. So, or you can even look at storage units. Some storage units have parking spaces, so you can actually park them in the storage unit, or they just have like extra parking. So it's an option for you also.
Pretty affordable too, based on what we need.
Lawn day before or after Poop Scoop? After Poop Scoop.
Poop Scoop before they mow the lawn for sure.
Yeah, we scoop Tuesday, they mow Wednesday.
Yeah, so if you both are on the same day, that's just going to be problems. Been there, done that. So you want to definitely make sure that you come in the day before, because Mrs. Jones going to be. We don't give time frames, right? We could show up from morning to dark on the same day as the mow day, and if it happens to be late in the day, our office is getting a call from Mrs. Jones. Why haven't you guys shown up yet to do the poop scooping? My lawn guy's here. It's just, you don't want to do that.
Yep. All right. If you don't wrap your vehicles or have the overhead of maintaining them, couldn't you redeploy the savings into other forms of marketing and potentially grow faster? I think you can on the short term. Like, if you don't want to spend $3 or $4 grand on a wrap and you just want to run ads for a couple months, you will make more money faster, but your cost per acquisition, like long term, is going to be way less with a wrap, because that wrap's going to be good for 3, 4, 5 years. So, or even longer. So short term, sure, yeah, you can make more money if you just throw that money into Facebook ads. But long term, probably not. That same money you spend on Facebook ads, you're going to get more clients from your wrap over time. Plus all the other intangibles, you're going to be able to charge more money if you have a wrap. You're going to look more professional. It's going to make your Facebook ads actually perform better if you have pictures of your wrap vehicle. It's going to be easier if you want to like network with other companies or meet up with a lawn care company or go to a humane society. And just like, if you have a wrap, it's just going to make you look better. And all those intangibles, I think, are well worth it. But if I were just starting off and maybe I only had 10 grand to get a business going, I probably wouldn't get a full wrap right off the bat. I'd dump it into Facebook ads. But if you have the budget, it's definitely worth it long term. So I heard of a company recently on Upflip that just takes garbage cans out to the curb. I mentioned this in the school, but have you guys thought about adding this to your routes where it makes sense? Yeah, we're not going to do that. It's a good idea, but like I said, all we do is scoop poop, just so that we can continue to scale. We did a couple $1 million of scooping poop this year. We'll probably actually double our revenue or close to it next year, literally just scooping poop. So there's not really a need for us to add another service like that. But we are looking at another service that is pretty high margin, even more so than Poop Scoop, when we have the customer base to sell to. So once that rolls out, we will let you guys know about that. Might double us again. So
I think that's a really cool business idea, though. It kind of goes to show you can really do anything with a business, right? You can make a living, you can do anything, even pulling trash cans to the curb, right? I think I don't remember if that was like teenagers that started that or whatever, but I had heard of a story with teenagers who had a couple thousand clients that did that. So I think if you have a plan, you execute, and you track your numbers and do all this, I think and you do what you say you're going to do in business. The rest will kind of work itself out.
Yep.
You just kind of have to stick with it, right?
All right. Well, I think we caught all the questions. So if you guys have more questions, I'll give about a minute. Throw something in the chat. Otherwise, I guess we'll wrap it up. We're at about an hour and 20 minutes right now. You said if you only have 10K to get a business going, what's a good amount of money to start with if we should get a full wrap with only 10K? We actually started with $1,000 when we first got going, and we didn't get a wrap, 6 months in maybe?
Yeah. You started with my little SUV with that trailer hitch. It was $300. Took 2.5 weeks to get. Got the rack for $120. Got filed for the business for $350 or whatever it was, and then some yard signs, I think. I just remember though. I remember like our 5th or 6th phone call. She said she like asked me. She's like, "Hey, is it an option to pay 3 months in advance?" And I almost like I freaked out. I was like, yeah, sure. We could really use that money. And we're not like an exception to the rule, you guys. I mean, this is my first real business. I know William had some business experience and he was in business before, but I mean, we're not like, we're not some Fortune 500 crazy guys over here. Like, we just kind of had a plan and we stuck to the numbers and we just executed. So if we can do it, literally anybody can do it.
Yeah, the other thing too, that's very valuable if you can pull this off, something called client financed acquisitions. So basically, if you can run your ads in an efficient way or have your initial first time cleanup set up in a way to where it actually pays for all your advertising, you're going to be able to grow a lot faster. Like our first year, we may be getting customers for 30, 40 bucks, and we're charging 80 bucks plus for a one-time cleanup. So that first customer paid for the next 2 essentially. And then we had all the recurring revenue on the back end. So if you can work that out, you can actually start this business with not a lot of money. Did the same thing with my electrical company. I started that with $1,000 too. Ran some Google ads, sold a job for like $7,000. Just use that to roll into more marketing. So you can really start a business and get it going pretty quick with not a lot of money if you can achieve client financed acquisition is what they call it. So my electrical company hit $1 million in 6 months. So starting with $1,000. So all right, looking forward to coaching with both of you. Awesome. Do you buy XL trucks or fancier? I try to buy a base model, unless it's for me. How many clients do you expect to churn every year from peak March to June? I don't know to June, but usually you're looking at 15 to 20% from peak to the end of summer. And then like September is kind of where things bottom up and start going back up. And then I basically expect to gain everything that we lost from September to December.
It used to be like 25% like by August until we really started focusing on retention, like offering the bucket service. If somebody wants to cancel, they're in the yard every day. Teaming up with the lawn mowing companies, offering different services. Now we offer twice a week cleanup. So I can put somebody on the Friday if they really want that, because we're kind of in the area already. So like we did a bunch of different ways to try to reduce those cancellations, and we definitely brought it down at least 5%. So.
All right, yeah, percentage wise, 15, 20%. That's also in our market where there's a lot of snow and melt off, so it's a pretty big, like, drastic change. So if you're in like Arizona or somewhere in the south, your spring rush might not be as crazy, but your summer churn won't be as crazy either.
We also had like our real estate market was like ranked 1 in the country, and then Spokane was like ranked 3rd for like 2 months straight. So we had a ton of people moving in and out and stuff, selling their houses, made a bunch of money. So I think our market was definitely a little bit different too, with the number of vast majority of people like moving away and stuff too. But it's definitely a big part of it.
All right. Did you guys have full-time jobs when you started? I started my business, but will only be able to work weekends starting out. Not sure how to transition financially. I had other businesses that I was in. I think you got a job, but you quit pretty quick, right?
Yeah, I was a social worker, and yes, I just started showing up less and less. So yes, I worked it around like you. I kind of just worked it around the schedule how I could. But I think if you were to start on the weekends only, totally understand that. I think you should just, depending on the size of your city, just break it into halves, I guess. So Saturday, Sunday of your city. Hopefully you can get across your city in like 30 minutes or less. But after you actually have enough clients, whatever that number is for you to quit, well, you'll be able to probably do about 20 to 30 yards, right? Like regular yards a shift. So once you get like, you're going to have to figure something out by like 50, 60 clients for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, well, it's not a bad idea too if you get your weekend full. If you're willing to work basically 7 days a week for a while, which could be what's required. Like save up that extra cash, right, as you're working your job, and just when you're ready to leave, try to do it at a good time. Maybe like going into spring rush, or if you get enough clients, and then just deploy all that extra money into marketing and get your route from 40, 50 clients up to 100 with that extra money that you saved. Is probably how I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Chevy Sonic. What do you think? I don't know. Chevy Sonic. Let's see. What do we got? 6 out of 10 car and driver, 4.3 Kelly Blue Book, 3.9 out of 5 cars.com. I don't know. It probably
26
work.
miles the gallon.
It'd probably work. I'm not super particular about the vehicle as long as it is affordable to buy.
It wouldn't wrap bad either. It's kind of like a box looking in the back. I think it would wrap decent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of like the hatchback style a little bit. Gets you a little bit more pop when you get wraps on them.
Yeah, not bad.
All right. Do you train your employees how to deal with aggressive dogs in the event of a client accidentally letting them out?
Yes. So for us, with like like safety is the top priority, right? We tell them from day one during training, if you're ever in a position where you just feel uncomfortable, whether you're in a yard or you don't want to be in a yard or you don't feel like going inside, it just feels sketchy, then try to call the client, knock on the door. If not, talk to your team lead and just skip the yard if you can't get a hold of them, right? So in the instance of like an aggressive dog, like if something were to ultimately happen, which doesn't happen very often for us, but if something does happen, like somebody just gets bit or something, what we do is we'll send the person to the doctor, got to get checked out, get a doctor's note, return to work, and we'll talk to the customer. We'll let them know what happened. Hey, this is what happened in your yard. Moving forward, instead of texting you when we're on the way, 60 minutes, we're going to call you. We need you to verbally confirm the dogs will be inside. If you don't answer, we'll come knock on the door when it's your turn. If we can't get a hold of you, we're just going to skip the yard, come back next week, try again. So that's kind of how we operate in that capacity. Some people require that the dogs are inside no matter what. Some people don't mind if the dogs are outside. But what I've found over the years, whatever your policy is, whether you're going to clean with dogs in or out, even if they're friendly or not, it's usually like an accident. Like the kid accidentally lets the dog out and it wasn't even supposed to be in the yard in the first place. They already knew we were coming, and something like that happens. Not every time, but that's kind of the majority of what happens. So it's like you couldn't have prevented it in the first place, is my point. So we do give them training on that. Hopefully that helps.
All right. Thank you for the content. I've been putting your tips into action. It's been a slow process, but I'm happy with the results. Awesome.
Thanks, Sebastian.
Let's keep making progress. Yes. What do you think is the biggest reason people get new customers their first year slow? Do you think it has much to do with people only being weekend warriors or part-time, do the full-time job? I'm sure that probably has a little bit to do with it, but to acquire customers, you're going to need either time or money, and actually deploying those in an efficient way. So with money, you can grow faster. So if you don't have a lot of money to spend on advertising, that definitely will slow you down. And if you spend your time doing the wrong things, that will slow you down. Also, for example, it's probably a lot faster to message 150 people on like Facebook groups than it is to go knock 150 doors. So things like that, I think you could be a little bit more efficient with. And then in marketing in general, there's just going to be things that you need to have that you won't necessarily have when you're first starting off. One of those being customer reviews. So if you don't have any good reviews, you're not going to be showing up on Google. If you don't have any customers, you're also not going to be getting referrals or word of mouth. So really building up that base when you're first starting off is a lot of extra effort, which you kind of get over that hump and things start to get easier. But and I think the other thing too is just people kind of underestimating how much effort it actually takes to go out and get a customer. So like we said, if you got to put out 1,000 yard signs or DM 150 people or spend $150 on ads to get one customer, I mean that's what it takes. So I think sometimes people underestimate what it takes because it's simple, right? But it's not necessarily easy to go grind that out for however many 4 to 6 hours a day, just trying to get customers.
I think the first 90 days are like extremely critical too. Like you want to be focusing on the right activities. The only thing like off the bat off the rip that kind of matters, like how am I going to get customers, right? Like we're essentially, people don't know this is a thing. We are a marketing agency, right? Like we're trying to get customers in the door. And I think a lot of times people get caught up on the fine details, like, oh, what color are my business cards going to be, or this and that. Like just kind of make it happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first 90 days is extremely important.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right. PSM rocks. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Rick. You rock.
Thanks, Rick.
Yeah. Flow is my number one concern. Yeah, that's probably the most important thing for most businesses is that lead flow. So depending on how you generate it, like whether you're going out or if you get money to spend on ads, like it's going to look a little bit different as far as consistency goes. So
you can even do like what I did off the rip, like when we first started those Facebook free groups. You might have heard us talk about it before. On Facebook, there's a tab called groups. You can search buy, sell, trade, your city, Craigslist of your city, right? Shop and swap your city, and you'll find all these groups with 10 to 100,000 people in them. You can post normally once, twice a week in there. I got our first like 11, 12, 15 clients from there. That's kind of how we started. And I also posted on Craigslist. It's like $5. Put it in the small business ad section, and it'll last for 30 days. Probably got a couple of customers from that. So just kind of trying to get yourself out there however you can.
What are actionable steps people starting should take to get new customers with low money or paid Facebook ads knowledge? So I think we talk about a couple of them. Kind of the main ones. Probably the best one is the free trial method. We basically reach out to friends and family or anybody that you know with a dog, and you say, "Hey, I'm starting this new company. This is a service we're providing. We're offering the first 2 weeks for free in exchange for some feedback and a Google review. You know anybody that might be interested in that?" And you're not even directly asking that person. But they have a dog, and a lot of people are going to take you up on that. Check out the service. Worst case scenario, you get a 5-star review on Google and you start to rank a little bit better. Best case scenario, they just sign up for services after that. And probably get somebody in Poop Scoop Millionaire. They took a picture of themselves and their kids. They had like a uniform on with just like a t-shirt that they got online, and they had their scooping bucket, and they posted the free trial method in a Facebook group, which is the other method that we use. I think he had over them up to do the free trial. So I don't know. We're trying to see what the results are from that still, because that just happened like last week. But that's pretty good volume, honestly, from one post and one picture. So
and he'll probably keep 5 of those at least, right? At $450 a month, assuming $90 a ticket, right?
Mm-hmm.
So good way to get started.
What do you guys think of snail mail flyers through USPS routes as a marketing strategy? So like doing EDDM, I think is what you're referring to. We have tested that out, and for us, it's always been kind of like a break-even thing. But I do think there's a place in your marketing strategy for that. I'd like to use that more for like building route density. So if you use EDDM on the mailing routes, it's pretty cheap to send those out compared to other direct mail methods. You can use it to kind of pepper some specific neighborhoods or areas where you want to boost your route density. But your cost per acquisition is likely going to be higher than other digital marketing channels. But you can target the specific houses, which is nice. Funds I have, I'm starting with a tailgate wrap and Facebook page and Google page. Does that sound okay? Yeah, I think those are good things to start with. Just make sure that you are putting in the effort to do the other things like the free trial method, posting in the Facebook groups, actually getting reviews for your Google page. Like if you're not putting in the effort, just having those things is not going to be enough to make your business work. You got to actually work those channels. What do you recommend for poops that are really stuck, especially in the initial clean?
Oh boy, yeah, we use the red rake, the Corona extendable cultivator rake. GT3050 is the item number, I believe, and that does a fantastic job of getting through pretty much everything but like patios, like concrete. Everything else, it's like the best tool I've used. But we two things you can do. Like number one, if you're not using that rake, I would look into it. It's probably like $12. And then you kind of just have to use 2 hands and scrape at the grass. But also we have like a hoe, like a Corona hoe, and we can kind of just get it up a little bit. I wouldn't worry too much about the hoe, it's not you're not going to rip up the yard with the hoe, but it's going to get up the dog waste because the dog waste kills the grass anyways, right? So you want to get that stuff up for sure.
Any problems with 18 to 21-year-old women doing this job? Most of our scoopers are actually young women, so I don't know if you had any issues.
No.
There'll be an occasional creeper, but then we'll just fire them as a client, and then we don't have.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Every once in a while, something weird will happen, but I mean that could happen to anybody.
Yeah.
But not. It's very rare. Very
I
rare.
think the majority of our team are women right now. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I'll literally hire anybody who I think is good.
I thank you. You're welcome. 9x12 works really well on the lawn and pest side. We sell local businesses spaces on a postcard. It covers the cost and allows us to send 10 to 20,000 a month out. We even make a little profit. See, now that is a good idea. Thinking outside of the box. So when we did it, I think we just sent it out with just with us. But if you have a big card and you sell advertising space on your card to cover the cost, that's very smart.
Yeah, it's clever.
Yeah.
Nice.
Scoop, thank you. Weedham Boys, thank you. You're welcome. All right, we got a few more minutes. If you guys have any other questions, otherwise, I think we'll wrap it up. Last call on questions.
Anything in school new?
Nope. All right, cool. Well, appreciate you guys tuning in for the live call. This will be posted here if you guys want to watch it again later. We'll see about doing it, once a month for a Q&A. So just stay tuned for other ones if you guys are still interested in that. And one last question. Not a tech person would be an easy way to set up a website. Hire somebody else to do it. That's what I would say. We got somebody in PSM that can do it for like not that much money at all. So check that out. If you guys aren't in Poop Scoop Millionaire, check that out as well. Other than these Q&As, it's like literally the only way to get a hold of me or Levi for the most part. So awesome.
Thank
Cool,
you
guys. Have a good one.
Thanks.